in it.
Yeah, I mean it. All right, here we go. So everyone has the agenda?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And I want to make sure we're recording. So if you look at that phone on the right, there should be a light on, I believe.
Well, it's got the square, so it should be.
I know
good.
mine
It says recording on it.
Okay, very good, very good. Thank you very much for coming to this meeting. You have in front of you the agenda for today, and I want to make sure a main goal for today is that by the time you leave this meeting, you know what our overall purpose is, what our task is, what our mission is, and then to understand what the things that we go over today, and kind of have an idea of what we're going over in the meetings to come. Today is vague in nature. Sorry, thank you very much. Vague in nature. We're not going to get into a lot of specifics today, but we may get into some specifics. So I'm Brent Jackson, social studies teacher, principal candidate through Sul Ross State University. If you don't mind going around the room and stating your name and your position here at Natchez Junior High.
I'm Ashley Radford, and I'm the special education teacher in content mastery.
I'm Dina Barker. I'm the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade English language arts teacher. Sorry, getting all tongue-tied.
And I'm Rosalind Barrett, I'm paraprofessional.
Lindsay Batchelor, assistant principal.
Okay, very good, very good. And so if you take a look at this agenda for today, I've got the first bullet point is the data team purpose. What is our purpose? What is our goal? What is our mission? I'm going to start a PowerPoint presentation to help aid me in that understanding of why we're here. So generally speaking, our purpose is to improve student learning. And let me turn this smart board on. I apologize. You'll have two places to look, the smart board and the laptop. And so if you want to look at the laptop, you can, guys, or if you want to look up here at the smart board behind me, you can do that as well. But it's to improve student learning and close achievement gaps for identified student learning problems at Natchez Junior High. And so I want to go over that one more time once it goes up here, comes up here on the smart board, and just make sure kind of everyone understands that that's what we're here to do, and that's what we're here to do as educators anyway, is to improve student learning. And we want to close achievement gaps at Natchez Junior High through what's called the collaborative inquiry process. And this process is data-driven. And so if that makes sense to you, good. If it doesn't, that's okay, as long as you really understand it by the time we end this meeting. Speaking of data, some of you have worked with data and some of you have not. But whether it's data or grading papers or doing lesson plans, I wanted to see if this picture, what thoughts come to your mind. In dealing with data through my coursework, this resonates to me. Even if you haven't, maybe like grading papers or lesson plans. And so I wanted to go around the room what you thought, though, if you haven't worked with data, what you think this picture implies. Ms. Radford, what
Overwhelming.
Yeah. Overwhelming.
Yes.
What about you, Ms. Barker?
Overwhelming, just too much to take in.
Too much to take in.
And I actually was grading papers last Friday and I kind of looked like that. So overwhelming.
Yes. And Ms. Batchelor?
And not necessarily knowing which data you'd like to utilize the most and how to make use of it, because he looks overwhelmed to the point of not getting anywhere.
Yes.
So knowing which data to look at is really important. And we're going to get into all that. And by the end of this experience as us as a data team, you'll probably have a very good, if you don't already, a very good understanding of data and how to look at the right data and how to get laser down into the data, so deep into the data that you've pinpointed a possible problem for student learning. Okay, awesome. Well, so what we want to do though with next, guys, is we move, that was our synectic activity. And the next part is to look at specifically what we're going to cover today. The purpose of today's data team meeting. And so I have a handout I want to give you. If you'll take one of these and pass it around. And we'll talk about what we're specifically going to cover today. This paper handout H1.2 has a graphic flowchart of the collaborative inquiry process. And as far as this data team is concerned, we're going to go slow. We're going to take the time to build the foundation because the idea is slow is fast. So we can not make any mistakes and be very thorough. So today, all we're really wanting to do is task 1 under building foundation. Task 1, which is entitled Launch the Data Team. So that will entail launching the data team for today. Task 1 will entail understanding the data-driven collaborative inquiry process, understand and establish the roles and responsibilities of the data team, and understand and establish collaborative norms for data team meetings. Because the idea is that if we get these norms established and we understand our roles and responsibilities, then we can work more effectively as a team. And so that's what we're going to try to do today and get that accomplished. If we're not able to get through all the activities of task 1, we can carry this on into the next meeting. I want to make sure that we don't get in a hurry and we lay a strong foundation. If you look at this graphic organizer, it does a good job of explaining the data-driven collaborative inquiry process. And so I'm going to go over this as in a flowchart manner. But even if you don't quite get it, that's okay. We're going to go over it a couple more times. So the foundation is the first step, setting up norms of collaboration, roles and responsibilities, and then we move it to the data part, in which we identify a student learning problem. Now, the student learning problem has been identified and authorized by Principal Batchelor. So that part is, for the most part, set. If we see some errors when we look at the data, preliminary data that y'all look at, then we can change that if we need to. But just to kind of give you kind of a heads up, it's having to do with the social studies TEKS, the social studies student performance, and the reading performance for 8th graders, 2019. Performance gaps that we noticed. So, well, then what you do is you take that and you look at the data even closer. And what you do is what we call drill down into the TEKS. We isolate the actual TEKS that receive the most gap when compared to the state of Texas. We've done that as well, and I've done that data work, but we should double check my work and make sure it's accurate. Okay, so that's when we get to identify a student learning problem, then we look at the data and we drill down and we find out specifically why these TEKS were missed. That's where you see verify causes. And this is known, and you'll hear me say this several times, is the root cause analysis. And the way that is to find the root cause. Why is this happening to the most sharpest detail? And the process I use is called the 5 why process, where you say, this is happening, why? Okay, why is that happening? Okay, why? And you do that 5 times till you get to what they say is the root cause. And this system is used in the business world, and most notably by Toyota. They use this when they are problem solving, and it's been very highly effective in the business world. And so the education world has modeled this as well. So once we have verified root causes, then we will develop something that's called a SMART goal. And this is a goal that's detailed, and it's also time frame sensitive. We'll be looking for a certain percentage of results improvement by a certain date. And we're going to get into all that later, but just to give you a basic idea of what we'll be doing, we're going to verify the root cause. We're going to develop a SMART goal collaboratively and based upon the data. And then we are going to try to fix the problem by developing or choosing instructional strategies that have been proven by research, peer-based, scientific method-oriented research that we found in the literature for the teachers that are teaching these TEKS to employ. So that will be part of the generating solutions there on the flow chart. The generating solutions is getting the SMART goal set up and then finding the appropriate instructional strategies. So then there's the implementation process. Implement, monitor, achieve. On your flow chart there, implement, monitor, achieve. So we will implement by providing professional development for the chosen instructional strategies we would like for the teachers to employ as part of their curriculum. And we will monitor that, and then we will check the results. And the results will be through the state testing STAR test. And we can actually see if there's been an improvement in those TEKS that we saw done. And this, this data team is for academic purposes, and it will be done by spring of 2023. But if this was something that you were doing, and we were doing it, this could be an ongoing process, is what I'm trying to say. This professional learning community would be something where it would continue. We would just check our results and then repeat the process and just try to improve student learning. So, does anybody have any questions about that so far? Okay, good. All right, cool. And the reason that you were all chosen for certain reasons. Ms. Batchelor has experience working with data before. Ms. Radford has experience working one-on-one with subpopulations, like special education, and also, modification and accommodations like that. I have experience with one of the particular TEKS sets that we're going to be looking at, social studies, 8th grade. Ms. Barker has experience teaching the reading TEKS that we also are looking at. Ms. Barrett has experience working one-on-one with students. So even though I'm in training with data, Ms. Batchelor has been trained in data, we can learn the data, how to aggregate it, disaggregate it, and get it drilled down. It's the experiences that you have as educators is why you've been chosen to do this. And I think I have covered everything, guys, for that. But I have some more of the slideshow I wanted to show you that we're on bullet point 4, data-driven collaborative inquiry process. And I wanted to just define that. I think I would assume everyone understands kind of what the words collaboration and inquiry and data mean, but just in case everybody doesn't, I found this was a Google search, and don't tell the kids that I did this, but this was the first thing that came, and I copy-pasted it.
Yeah.
But it says, in collaborative inquiry, teachers work together to identify common challenges, analyze relevant data, and test out instructional approaches. The idea behind this approach is that such systematic collaborative work will increase student learning. And that's pretty much what we're trying to do. And so this is not something that people just theorized and just put it into a master's program curriculum or standard. This is stuff that's been proven to work statistically. And so there are several case studies. One of them that seems to come up a lot in the books that part of my assignments is this one at Kenton City High School in Ohio, 2003 to 2006. You see student performance quite a bit, and so I think it was 2003, 2004 is when they began this data team, and they saw results. And there are several other examples of this. If you're interested in looking at the statistics and the data, I can provide that for you. I just want you to know that it's not just some theory that hasn't been tested. It has been tested. So again, it's kind of going over it again. They're using the data process. Foundation is what we're doing today, laying the foundation. We're only going to do task 1, in which we describe this process, learn about this process, and then establish and understand roles and responsibilities of the data team and the collaborative norms. Okay, and then I have a nice visual here, the data divide, where you see a person who's trying to go from data to results, and results is student learning. The steps of our process: identify the student learning problem, verify why, get down to the root cause, generate solutions, implement, monitor, assess. Repeat. We won't do the repeat process, but you can. So when I talk about identify a student learning problem, we will be looking at reports that the state generates that's data-based. We'll use the 5 why process, also known as, it's a type of root cause analysis to get down to the specific teeth. Drill down into the teeth is the term that is used a lot. Generate solutions by developing a SMART goal and choose instructional strategies that are proven through peer-based academic research. And then implement through professional development and execution of instructional strategies by teachers. We'll be monitoring that. There will be a calendar that we'll set up, and we will have it very organized in a manner to monitor what's going on as these teachers are moving through the spring of 2023. And then the assessment, state or local assessments. At this time, we're looking at the STAR. That's the plan for now. If it was to change and for some reason it wouldn't be STAR, then we would do local assessments, common assessments. And the data divide is a combination of collaborative inquiry, asking questions, functioning as an effective collaborative group, data, instructional improvement. Yay, and then we should get results.
Fabulous. That's really
Yeah.
fabulous.
I was just gonna ask, where's the bridge?
But I don't want to get too much into this, but I just wanted to have a little bit of a conversation with you guys about this. We will be focusing on this, our next meeting, and that is our school and some of the subpopulations that will need attention that we'll focus on. This is a chart that deals with poverty and race, ethnicity enrollment, and the number of students proficient or above. And it looks like, I guess what it's saying here is that it's trended downward. Is that what y'all are seeing? But I have some data, just to kind of look at the data a little bit for our school. I just wanted to do that, look at our school. Just a few slides just to kind of get you thinking between now and the next data meeting. We have significant gaps. And I think the two populations that we look at with our school specifically are economically disadvantaged students and Mexican American students. So when we look here, when we compare our economically disadvantaged students compared to the campus, let's see what the subject is. 2018-2019 reading grade 6 at meets. We have a -8 gap, or an 8% performance gap at the at meets, and then an 11% performance gap at masters. When we look at the math grades, all of our grades, and this is elementary and junior high, because you guys know that we're elementary and junior high, even though I will refer to us as junior high. When we look at the elementary to 8th grade, we have a -11% gap, Mexican Americans, and a -14. And anything over 10 is something to look at. Anything, any gap over 10 is something to look at, and then it can be a topic of concern. We will look at improving student performance. Grade 6 at meets, 2018-2019. Reading, we have a -8 and a -11 when compared to the campus. When we compare economically disadvantaged students, there's results compared to the campus. The gap is 8% and 11%. This should be at meets, and this should be masters. Back to economically disadvantaged, for grade 8 reading. We have some pretty big ones here. 29% at meets and 21% at masters. So this is just kind of giving you kind of an introduction of data. We're going to get into it a lot more. I just pulled some random stuff. I mean, I found a lot of gaps, but I just kind of, the ones that stood out to me was economically disadvantaged and Mexican Americans as a subpopulation that we're going to probably take a look at. This is for NACHES and our particular concerns. And so I think that's enough. I mean, it's kind of the same. I'm going to skip through in the interest of time, guys. But this last visual, I think, will do well. And it's the intersection of equity, data, and professional learning communities. So this is what we are right now as a professional learning community. And we're going to be data-driven, and we're going to use collaborative inquiry. So we've got our team. Oh, I apologize. Let me say that a little bit differently. The professional learning communities would be like maybe us, and then there might be I think that there's an organization that's a PTO, parent-teacher organization that's meeting now, and some other moves that the administration is making to deal with other stakeholders. So we could communicate with those other professional learning communities and kind of like maybe let them know what we're doing and how they can help us or we can help them. But our particular PLC is dealing with data and then equity. And equity is the idea, if you don't know, is equity is, the way I think about it is everyone gets the same start. You know, we all need help, and some of us don't start out with the same advantages as others. And so we need to keep that in mind with the equity. And I think that my core value, collaborative inquiry. So a core value that we'll have is that school teams constructing meaning of student learning problems and testing out solutions together through rigorous use of data and reflective dialogue unleashes the resourcefulness of educators to continuously improve instruction and student learning. And so in relation to today's meeting, maybe we can get to this part that says reflective dialogue, effective data team meetings, effective communication. So I believe that is the last slide. Yep. And so we want to move, if we have time, let me do it. Does anybody have a watch on them? Because,
It's 1:40.
okay, we're doing pretty good, I think. And yes. Before we move on, does anybody have any questions? Okay, good. And I would like to just maybe see if I could get some feedback from anybody, because I just feel like I'm monopolizing the floor here. So I want to open the floor for anybody that has any questions or comments about what we're doing.
I thought it was good.
Okay.
I mean, I thought you were pretty clear.
Okay, good,
Yeah.
good. I'm being clear, good.
Yeah.
Because one of the norms that we'll do is, you know, we don't want just one person taking over the meeting. We're going to have roles and responsibilities that we're going to go over here in a minute. Specific roles and general roles. One of the roles that is mine is to be the facilitator. And all that means is, it's not like I'm a leader, it's just I'm facilitating things happening, having the room set up, having all the materials for you to need, like whether it's a report called a taper report that you'll learn about, or this report or that report. I've got it all there. I've got the chart paper and the materials. So that's going to be my role as the facilitator. We're going to look at some specific roles next meeting, like the timekeeper. And let's see, there's the timekeeper. Oh, and someone who's kind of keeps minutes and things like that. So we'll assign those roles later. But today we'll look at some of the basic roles and responsibilities. So I have a handout, 1.5, H1.5, entitled Data Team Responsibilities. You'll take one and pass it around and just take a moment to go over these team responsibilities. These are our basic general ones. Okay, does anybody have any questions about those so far? We're gonna kind of go over them for just a minute, but if nobody has any questions, I do want to go over a term that I did notice, and that is initiatives. And so if you'll go to bullet point 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. It's the second from the bottom one. Coordinate with other school or district initiatives and leaders. There is something that I wanted to speak about in regards to that word initiatives. If we are successful with with improving student learning through the instructional strategies that we choose, we will see if administration wants to put these in the form of initiatives, which will make it part of our curriculums, NACHS's curriculum. So that's something that I did not mention, and that will be up to to administration if they want to do that. It may be even a school board thing. I'm not for sure, to be honest with you. But initiatives that would be so neat if we could show through the data that our students have improved student learning, and they might want to adopt those in the form of initiatives to be given to the social studies and reading teacher for the future. So these are pretty basic. I don't think anybody has any questions about them, but there was the term stakeholder. And I want to make sure everyone knows what a stakeholder is. If you don't know what this word stakeholder means, like if you look at bullet point number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, communicate with staff and key stakeholders about the findings and the plans. Ms. Batchelor, I assume you know what a stakeholder is.
Right here.
Okay, I want to see if,
Up here too.
so I'm not just monopolizing the floor here. I want to let Ms. Batchelor explain to you, if you don't know what a stakeholder is.
A stakeholder is somebody who has stake in the outcome. And so stakeholders can be students, parents, community members even, employers, and obviously teachers as well as administrators, people who are affected by your choices, stakeholders.
Thank you, yes. And so that's, like you see our administration moving to this active PTO group, that's a great way to communicate to stakeholders, parents, the community, right? Even businesses around here, they're stakeholders. So very good, thank you very much. So we probably, as we get going through this process at some point, might be communicating to stakeholders, possibly in the school board, maybe a presentation for the school board, so that people know what we're doing, so that people know that we're doing some good things here, we're trying to do some good things here.
And the Facebook page.
A Facebook page, that's a good idea. I'm gonna jot that down as a possible stakeholder communication tool. So then the question I have for you, I'm gonna get this chart paper and see if we were to look at that set of roles and responsibilities and see if we can add to those. If there's any roles and responsibilities we want to add, and if there are, I will write them down. So I'm going to write roles and responsibilities. Here, and see if we can add to those any roles and responsibilities. And I mean, just to get us started, just data-centered research, or something about, the word data needs to be in there somewhere. If you'll notice, that's there.
Research.
So, data analysis. Does that sound like a good one, just to get us started? Data analysis. Analyzing data. You can either look at those and maybe reword it a little bit, or if you think of one that we could add as our roles and responsibilities. Trying to make all the meetings.
Punctuality?
Punctuality. Punctuality.
No.
And this may get into more of the norms of collaboration realm, because I was thinking, you know,
Open and honest communication, because sometimes it's hard to say, this is my area, and it's not going well. But that's okay. It's all a process of moving forward and improving, so, I'd say open and honest communication.
so, yes, ma'am. Honest communication makes me think of some of the reading I was doing to prepare for this meeting, and it talks about discussing the hard subjects. You know, we might have to take a look at some of Mr. Jackson's instructional strategies,
Right.
you know, or, and I mean, I imagine like as administrator, you have to have those tough conversations sometimes. I forget the term that's used, but you're right. Oh, honest communication, even if it's gonna hurt some of our feelings.
Well, a willingness to look at what's best for students.
Yes,
Even
ma'am.
though that may.
Yes, ma'am. So I want to just hang on for a second. Go to the next point unless someone has something to add here. Because, I mean, we are going to look at specific roles in the next task, but as far as general roles, it's data analysis, punctuality, which I'm curious as to whether maybe I should have said,
Yeah.
gone with norms, but that
Yeah,
might even
okay.
go in both areas. Open and honest communication, I think that is one of the norms we might look at here in just a minute. It's very good. So before we move to the norms of collaboration, just want to make sure that we're getting the essence of this, though. It's data-based. Okay, so communication with